During our past few gatherings, over the past few months and weeks, we've explored a lot of big ideas. Letting go, courage, fixing things, trying things, the reason for us, judgment. And reflecting on all of that as I settle into my favorite season of the year, I love fall, I was comparing where I am right now to where I was a year and a half ago. And whoops, there we go. And that's internally and externally. And I landed once again in really familiar territory. The constantly shifting and evolving question of, who am I? And I listen to the news of the world and I see what's happening around me. And I started to wonder, are we to only be identified by what we do, our employment or our lack of employment, by where we live or who we live with, who we love, who we vote for, what we do in our free time, how we share our abundance, our upbringing, our spiritual path, our beliefs, our habits, our addictions, how limited we make ourselves, how much do we limit others? Who are we, really? And I know that I've shared in the past the stories that have happened to me in the past and what happened to me and the choices that I made based on those occurrences, and that I'm no longer that person. However, elements of past phases of me have shaped my now me. And I'm finding, as I unpack in my new home, I find physical manifestations, pieces of those past phases of me. And so the tricky part for me in this was when I say that I am not that me anymore, what does that really mean? I mean, aren't we all kind of collective aspects of ourselves throughout the years? Can I truly not be the me that I was when I've chosen to keep physical reminders, physical remnants of that me in my living space? When I was in Hawaii, there were people that were surprised to find out when I said I was 51. There was even some shock, which always feels kind of good. And I shared with them something that my mother had told me, which she now says she doesn't remember saying, but it was great wisdom, so she's accepting that she might have said it. She said, "Rachel, if you keep dressing like a slob and acting immature, no one will ever know how old you are." It works. Praise God. So there's a part of me that's eternally youthful as long as I continue to do that. So going back to the tricky part about who I am and am I still that and all that stuff. So up until May of last year, I was really darn confident that I had conquered this darkness, depression that used to haunt me. I had songs and stories that I shared about the dark times from my past that all conveyed the belief that I carried that I was done with that part of my life. Done. It was behind me. Far, far behind me. And then, as the past year and a half has unfolded and frayed and fell apart, what I discovered, and I was pretty horrified to discover, was that it wasn't that far behind me at all. The metaphor I compared it to was I felt the ground sort of crumbling under my heels. And so I turned to see what was happening, and that deep, dark abyss was right behind me. Right behind me. And it had always been there. I had always been standing on the edge of it. I just simply chose to face the other direction. I didn't know it was still there. And so in that moment of discovery, the question arose again, who am I? Am I the courageous warrior that did battle with the darkness and conquered it and won? Can I still be that person when I realize that I was standing on the very edge of what I thought I'd walked away from? Does it change who I am if I emotionally fall down after being really happy and strong? Does the story change? Is there anything untrue about it? Either piece. And so what I really started asking myself was that even though this last year and a half has changed me in many ways, did it fundamentally change who I am? Do these moments in our lives fundamentally change who we are? Does the journey that we're taking change who our soul has chosen to be in this lifetime? And so then somebody emailed me who couldn't be here today, and she said, this is a really great question, because I often wonder if the things that happen to us or the jobs that I take or the choices that I make, do they define me? Does it take away from who I think I am? Does it make me who I truly am? Do I let it? And then I was like, okay, seriously, I need to write down here, let's all take a breath. So I have it written down, but let's all take a breath. And I found this picture that said, something will grow from all you're going through, and it will be you. And that really hit it. I believe very strongly that we choose our lives. I'm not saying that things are predestined or that we're choiceless once we're here. I believe that we choose our lives before we come here, and we have the ability to make choices within those lives because the universe is infinite and ever expanding and ever evolving, and it's always offering us options. So, yes, makes sense? All right. And I believe that no matter the choices that we make and the paths that we walk, I believe that the real truth, capital R, capital T, real truth of who we are doesn't change. That truth for all of us is that we are here to love. We are here as spirit in action. We all have a purpose. We are all here on purpose. And we wouldn't be here if we didn't have a purpose to be here. We're here to give and receive. We're here to share our wisdom and our light. We're here to learn and to grow and to be a piece in the cosmic puzzle. There is a term in Judaism called tikkun olam, and it translates as repair the world. And it's sort of been taken over by environmentalists and social action groups. It's become very popular recently to do tikkun olam, service to repair the world. And many people who use the term actually don't know the history of it, so I'm going to share that with you. Its origin is found in a cosmological myth from the 16th century that was brought forth by a Jewish mystic, Rabbi Isaac Luria of Safed. He was known as the Ari. But he didn't actually create it. It actually goes way back before him, but he's credited for bringing it forth. And so here's the myth. At the beginning of time, God's presence filled the universe. When God decided to bring this world into being to make room for creation, God first drew in a breath and contracted itself. And from that contraction, darkness was created. And when God said, "Let there be light," the light that came into being filled the darkness, and 10 holy vessels came forth, each filled with primordial light. And in this way, God sent those 10 vessels like a fleet of ships, sent them out into the world carrying its cargo of light. And if they had all arrived intact, the world would be perfect. But the vessels were too fragile. They couldn't contain their divine light. And they broke open and shattered. And the holy sparks were scattered like sand or seeds or stars. We were created then to gather these stars. to gather these sparks of light. And they're hidden because God couldn't make it easy for us. So they're hidden, and we are here to gather them. And when enough holy sparks have been gathered, the broken vessels will be restored, and Tikkun Olam, the repair of the world that we've waited so long for, will finally be complete. So it's the aim of everyone in their lifetime to collect sparks, wherever you find them, and bring them to you, to the collective healing of the soul of the world. So I thought about this. It's like, cool. And I started thinking about Robin Williams. And I'm still really processing the loss of him as if he was in my close circle of friends. And I know a lot of people are experiencing that. Many people I talk to are like, I feel the same way. I feel like I lost my best friend. You know, he had that ability to get inside us. And I don't know why it is, but it's good to not be alone in that. And I think that if he had died of any other cause, we'd still grieve. I don't think that we would feel what we're feeling. At least I wouldn't. And I thought of Robin Williams, you know, we see this man, he was an actor, a giver, a man who enjoyed his life, his gifts, his family. He shared, he gave. What part of him didn't remember all those things? Didn't remember who he was? Or is it possible, as difficult as it is to accept, is it possible that he gathered all the sparks that he could and he was done? And this was how he was to go. I don't know. I like to think that he did all that he was able to do. And he sure left us with some serious, serious light. And so I was thinking about choice, and I was thinking about him, and I was thinking about all these things, and I remembered this movie that Heather and I had watched a few years ago. It's called Another Earth. It's this little sleeper film that when we watched it, I was like, that was interesting. And then I thought I'd let it go, but it has stuck with me for years. Like, it's been, I think, 2 or 3 years since we watched it, and it's just back here going, you need to talk about me. And it seemed today was the idea. So the premise of this movie is that one day, another Earth, identical to ours, appears in the sky. And everybody's freaking out because they don't know what it means. But it's identical to ours. And so communications are starting to happen, and NASA's doing its thing, and all the scientists are doing their thing. And so that's one aspect of the movie, is solving the mystery of what this other Earth is. Meanwhile, there's a story of a young girl who has graduated from college and has a promising career and a future, and she's out partying, happy about her graduation, and she's driving drunk, and she's obsessed with this other Earth, and so she's driving home intoxicated. She looks out the window to gaze at this Earth and heads on with another vehicle. And she kills a mother and a child and leaves the husband wounded both externally and internally. After she serves her time, she wants to make amends with this man, but she doesn't know how. So she begins cleaning his house. She shows up at his door as a house cleaner that somebody provided for him. And he's broken. You know, he's just a broken man. And so she starts cleaning his house, and they start developing this relationship, and it becomes a powerfully deep relationship. So that's happening, contact's being made with another Earth, and now I'm not going to tell you anything else that happens because I want you to watch it. But the idea that I was going with was, what would it mean to have an alternate version of ourselves on another Earth? A you who made different choices, who didn't make the same mistakes, who took a totally different path. What would that feel like? What would it mean? And my first thought was it would mean forgiveness. Like ultimate forgiveness. And not really for other people, but mostly for ourselves. For our own stuff. And it would offer us the opportunity to have a completely different perspective on everything. Every choice we've made, every step we've taken, everything. It's powerful. And here's the thing. We can do that right now. We can start over right now. We don't need another Earth or another us. We can choose to keep the best aspects of our lives, the best remnants of our past. And then, in this next now moment, choose to become a different us. We can do this. We might already be doing it. I did this when I moved to Alaska. When I first moved up here, I had lived in Ohio for 37 years, and I had a story there. I had lots of stories there. And when I moved here, no one knew me. No one. I had only met a couple people before I came here, and they didn't know me at all. And I thought, I could be anybody. I can create a whole new history. And no one will know. I could start over. What would happen if I started over? My whole story, all my history, it wouldn't matter anymore. Poof. Ralph Waldo Emerson, in one of his most powerful essays, Self-Reliance, which has a ton of great quotes in it, has this quote. He says, "Speak what you think today in words as hard as cannonballs, and tomorrow speak what tomorrow thinks in hard words again, though it contradict everything you said today." He goes on to explain that you might be misunderstood, but that's okay because all the great people have been misunderstood. And there are many people who have done this, who've just changed. You meet them and you're like, wow, you're different than you were yesterday. That's right, I am. They've taken who they were or who they were perceived to be and changed into who they wanted to be. I highly recommend going to all of your high school reunions because this happens all the time. And it's so cool. It's so cool. And another great example from the world of fame and fortune is Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey was a great example of this because when he won the Golden Globe for The Truman Show, he was stunned. He was up against Ian McKellen, Nick Nolte, Jack Nicholson. He was up against some great, fine actors. And here was Jim Carrey. You know, this was his first step away from being a goofball. And he actually said, when he got the award, he acknowledged that he wasn't going to get away with doing the silly stuff that he'd done before because now it was real. And I loved that. When you can watch the speech on YouTube. He's radiant because he realizes, you can see it in him. He realizes this is the tipping point. This is the moment. I'm not who I was anymore. I'm now seen. I'm now seen. And he acknowledges the director of the movie for casting him, thanking him for seeing beyond his silly faces, for seeing what he had inside him. And because of that movie and because of that award, he went on to do some amazing work in like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and The Number 23 and in The Majestic, in these movies that he would never have been acknowledged for or even looked at for. And yet the man is a fine actor, and now he's doing even more to raise the consciousness of everyone on the earth. So it's like, talk about changing from, Ace Ventura to this. It's a leap. And most of us have gone along with it. So my guess is that everyone here, or hearing me eventually, knows someone who's done some kind of transformation like this. And maybe we are doing it as well. I found this quote from Paulo Coelho, and I thought, this is what we're talking about here. Imagine a new story for your life and start living in it. Wow. Oh, okay. That's an awesome message. And so maybe who we were isn't resonating with who we are, and we need to be who we are. We need to be who we are. The world is calling for us. It's so easy to slip back I talked a couple weeks ago about judgment and how I totally don't feel like myself when I'm judging people. Like I can feel it. It is yucky. And so the difference is what I feel like when I'm connecting to my deepest truth of myself. And we all know how that feels too. I'm guessing. I'm assuming. That moment of, oh, there I am. When Heather and I climbed Mount Subasio, and I complained the entire climb up, but we got to the top, and I sat in the cave where Brother Francesco cried and sang. I was me. I was my best self in that space. Or when I sat outside San Damiano, and it was pouring rain, and I just thought, this is who I am. And when I stand here on Sunday mornings, and we're doing this is the best me I've ever been. This is who I am. Took a long time. And it's so easy for us to slip into the daily circumstances and disappointments and obstacles and stuff. And to say, today I don't want to be who I am. Today I'm going to be a cranky person. Today I'm going to be an unpleasant person, whatever it is, and to forget. And even when we don't want to, it happens. And I'm not going to stand here and tell you that that's not true. Stuff happens. Life happens. Financial hiccups happen. Health issues happen. Relationship challenges. Employment frustrations. These are the main things that we're taught to pray about when we become practitioners of science of mind, right? Everything falls into 4 categories. And there are great affirmations and some not so great platitudes that are created to help us. And for some folks, they do. More often than not, for me, they would irritate me because I'm like, look, I'm in my stuff. Don't tell me all is well. Don't tell me I'm whole and complete. I don't feel it. And so I would get irritated because I'm like, I need to be reminded of who the truth of who I am is. Get to it. Get to it. And it was because I'd forgotten, or more painfully than forgetting who I was actually choosing not to be who I was. It's like, no, I'm going to be a cranky person. So there. It was, what was I winning? And so then I thought, well, what if this is the truth about Tikkun Olam? What if this whole idea of the sparks and the pieces of Tikkun Olam, what if it's the lower part of this quote where it says, maybe we're the pieces. Maybe we're not supposed to find the pieces. Maybe we are the pieces. Not so hidden after all. And it also connects to that Marianne Williamson quote that Nelson Mandela made famous, that for years I said Nelson Mandela said, and actually it was Marianne Williamson, and there was this whole big argument about who said it. But it doesn't really matter, because there's one segment of that quote where she says, we ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. We are all meant to shine. We're the sparks. We're the sparks. So what can I say? What can I tell you if you're feeling disconnected from who you are? What can I say that isn't a pithy affirmation, or that doesn't sound like I'm not coming from my heart? I can tell you what I've learned in the past year and a half. Time is the great equalizer. When we're ready to change, change finds us. When we're open, we receive. When we yield, in that moment, Spirit says, thank you. Thank you. And what I can tell you for sure is that even when those moments come where you might forget who you are, please know, I see you. I know who you are. I know the truth of who we are. I know who you are, and I know who I am. So if you forget, just remember someone's holding that. And I'm going to mix up things with prayer a little bit today. I'd like to sing a song. And the song is called Who We Are. And it came through me 6 years ago, and I had no idea how useful it would be. So if you want to just use this time as prayer and give the stone what you need to let go of. At the end of the song, I will say a few words, and then we can do the rocks in the water thing. But I offer this to you as a prayer. Someone asks us who we are. Someone asks us what we do. So we question, why am I here? So as we hold that peace, that powerful piece of ourselves that we know to be who we are, spark, that piece of the whole, that element of spirit that we are. We hold that, and we know that it's true of ourselves, and we know that it's true of everyone around us. We are here to love, and we are love. So let's live and be who we truly are. Ashe. Amen.